So welcome back to the Aitken Financial Services podcast. I'm Scott Aitken, a mortgage and protection advisor based in Edinburgh. And today on episode 2, I've got something for first-time buyers, and it's all about kickstarting your home buying journey. That is understanding your affordability. This is where everything should begin. Before you start scrolling through Rightmove or Zoopla or wherever it is looking for your dream home, you need to understand what your realistic budget is. Now, you'll see a lot of stuff online about mortgage affordability. You'll see a lot of videos referencing 4.5 times income, 5.5 times income, whatever it might be. But crucially, your affordability isn't just about how much you can borrow. I think that affordability really is what the mortgage monthly payment is. And that's something I'm seeing a lot of just now. I've got a lot of first-time buyers who I'm chatting to right now who might be able to borrow 300, 400, 500,000 pounds based on their salary. But when we look at the mortgage monthly payments for that, they don't want to go anywhere near that full affordability. And that's because they have to consider a whole bunch of other things. They'll have their council tax, their home insurance, their life insurance, they're going to have utilities and any other bills as well, all the other stuff that goes into running a home. So that's why it's essential to look at what you can borrow, but what you can afford to pay each month. And that's why it's essential to, work out what the maximum amount you can borrow is, but really it's how much can you comfortably afford to repay each month. So yes, like I say, if you want a really rough idea, you take your gross annual salary, so that's the amount on your contract on the top line of your salary before tax and everything, and multiply it by 4.5. It's not going to be exact because that doesn't take into account any credit commitments you've got, any dependents you have. Also doesn't take into account any of your circumstances and criteria, like do you have defaults, CCJs, things like that. All of this can affect your affordability, but it'll give you a very basic starting point. If you're employed, lenders are going to use your basic salary. Some will also use bonus, commission, overtime, tips, a whole bunch of other things. Again, this is why you want to be speaking to a mortgage advisor for this sort of stuff. And likewise, if you're self-employed, you're more often than not going to need your latest 2 years SA 302s and tax year overviews. Lenders will usually average that, or if the most recent year is lower, they'll use that lower figure. There are some lenders out there who use just the latest year or just use 1 year accounts as well. Again, another perk of working with a mortgage advisor. And if you're a limited company director, it's a little bit different. A lot of lenders will look at your salary and dividends, but there are also some out there who might look at retained profits in the company as well, depending on your overall company structure. Now, that's just a quick overview of income. Outgoings are just as important. If you've got existing commitments, that could be loans, credit cards, hire purchase, sofas, whatever it might be, they're all going to be factored in to your overall affordability. Now, another thing that can massively impact your affordability are children. Children are classed as what's called dependents, and you do get some adult dependents in some cases as well. Dependents are also going to have an impact on how much you're able to borrow. So right now, you're probably thinking, well, Scott, what is it I need to do? How do I figure out how much I can borrow? How do I get started? Something I do with all my clients is go through what's called a budget planner. That's where we're going to take your income. We're then going to list all of your essential or mandatory outgoings, everything you need to spend to be able to survive every month. And then what's left over is going to be your disposable income. That figure there is realistically how much you're able to afford to spend per month. Now, obviously, if you have rent that you're paying just now, we can take that off because the mortgage will replace that. But that is what we're playing with. That's what you've got to be able to spend month to month. And this is why I think a budget planner is super helpful. I actually have a free one you can get as part of the first time buyer handbook. So again, you can go on my website and get a copy of that. But ultimately, the best thing you can do is speaking with a mortgage advisor. A good mortgage advisor is going to go through all of that with you. They're going to assess your affordability. They're going to look at your income, your outgoings. They're going to find out how much you're able to borrow. They're going to look at your circumstances. They're going to look at your credit agreements. They're going to look at any defaults. They're going to look at all of that and be able to recommend a lender for you and find out how much you're able to borrow and find out what you're going to be able to buy and then steer you in terms of what your purchasing power is. How much can you realistically go to? What properties can you start looking at? And that's going to help you not fall in love with a property that you can't afford. So it's going to avoid that heartbreak. And it's going to mean that you can not waste time. You can get laser focused in terms of what properties you're able to afford and go for them. It's all about having it all prepared right at the start, having that clarity right at the start, and it's going to avoid the stress further down the line. I see it quite often where someone will come to me when they've had an offer accepted on a property. So they've done everything else themselves. So maybe even went and got their mortgage in principle themselves. They'll come to me because they've had an offer accepted on a property to get the application submitted. They may have hit roadblocks with getting an application with that lender. And when they come to me, I find out things have been done wrong. They've not declared certain things. They actually can't afford to borrow as much as they thought they could at the start because they don't know realistically what they're doing. They've done it wrong. They've made a mistake. These things happen. But that gets super stressful. Imagine you've had your offer accepted on a property, you've bought something, and then you're getting told by somebody, well, actually, you're going to have to pull out that purchase. You can't buy that anymore. So again, got to stress it. Speak to somebody from the start. It'll make life so much easier for you. Hopefully you found that useful. That is a very quick sort of overview on affordability. There's more information available on our website that you can go check out, and there is the first time buyer handbook which you can download, and that is free. If you're liking this stuff, please remember to subscribe, follow, whatever it is, and if you have any questions, leave a comment and I'll get back to you. If there's any topics you want me to cover, again, just drop a comment, drop me an email, and I'll see what I can do. Thanks again for listening. Catch you soon. Cheers.